Peace and blessings, collective. So if you saw the previous video that I just posted, it was a little bit about the shipment that just came in with the Yoni Steam herbs. The Red Tent is like refacing all of his Yoni Steam products that's there. And we're adding a bunch of teas there. We're adding a bunch of different types of Yoni Steams there. We're just like really giving the Red Tent an uplift and a facelift. So in that though, I was packaging my herbs and I was like, hold up, maybe I should show them how to package them so they can make sure their herbs stay a long time, because one of the things that you don't want is you don't want your herbs, even though they're dry, to kind of lose their healing power to them. So I have a different tricks and things like that I use for my herbs. And of course, because the orders are coming in so quickly, they don't really get a chance to sit long, but just to make sure that they stay fresh as long as possible, I still do transfer them. Hey, did you go and make sure that you subscribe to the channel? Because if not, don't forget to push that subscribe and notification bell, okay? Because I need you to be making sure you up to date with each and every time I release a video. Love you. So the first thing I want to do is I want to talk about like some jars that you can use. So if you don't already have like jars, so in a previous video, I showed you guys these jars that I went and I got. I get these from Walmart. They come in a pack of 12. And in a pack of 12 is something like $8 or $9. They're canning jars. These are 32 ounces. So any herbs that I get that's left over after I make the huge batch of the herbs that I'm going to be using to package the Yoni Steam products, I put into these jars as leftover. So I get these jars, and if you don't have a huge 32-ounce jar, you can use glass jars like this. The secret to making all of your Yoni Steams last, or if you're not doing Yoni Steams, if you're doing teas or whatever you're doing, the secret to making your herbs last is to put them into a glass container opposed to just staying in a plastic container. Because when you put them into glass, it makes sure that the freshness is sealed in, and so you don't really allow the air to get into it, and it's just a way better container for it. So I use I'll save my jars, like if I buy any dips or any tomato sauces or anything, like any kind of jar, save them, because when you save these jars, you can take the herb and you can transfer it into the jar and it'll hold its freshness. Okay, so that's my first tip. So when I'm making a Yoni Steam specifically, I do soak all of my Yoni Steams in the new or the full moon energy, depending on which type of blend it is, and I add crystals. If you are a person who is storing your Yoni Steams and you're looking at this video for your Yoni Steams, I'm going to suggest 2 crystals to you that you can add to your herbal mixture that will intensify the Yoni Steam for you, and it will give you the healing properties of the herbs as well as the crystals when you go to boil it. So let's get into that. Okay, so in my hand, I have rose quartz crystals and I have red jasper. If you do not have them, I suggest that you go get them. Red jasper is really, really, really good for womb work, and rose quartz is really, really good for love, the overflowing, overabundant vibrations of love. So I add the 2 of these crystals together, and together they make a dynamic couple in Yoni Steams. You're taking the healing property of the red jasper and combining that with the properties of the rose quartz, which is going to infuse love into your Yoni Steam. And so you're giving your Yoni a loving, healing vibration. So as you can see, at the new moon, I created this Yoni Steam blend for myself. This is like my own personal one. And you can see that, well, I just mixed it to the bottom, but you can see the rose quartz in there, and you can hear them rolling around in here somewhere. Okay, you'll see the red jasper. See the red jasper? So I put that into all of my blends. I actually put 4. I put 2 at the bottom and I put 2 at the top. I set it in the light of the new moon for 3 days. So the first day of the new moon, for example, the first day of the new moon, I put it there. I set it there the first day, the second day, the third day. The third day at that night, I take it out of the new moon window that I call it, like in the front of my home. I take it out of that window, and then I take it and I put it into a dark cupboard, because the dark space is going to also help to preserve your herbs. And we'll get into that a little bit later. So as you can see, like this is some of my collection of herbs. And behind here, you'll see a little odd jar for my fennel seed. And like I told you, it's the container of the tomato sauce that I had. So that's those. And then down here, you will see some of the jars that I had for like when you get those glass jars that has like the fruit and the oranges or the peaches in them, like the slices. That's what these are. So I literally store all of my herbs the same way. Depending on how big the amount of herb is that I have, I will put it into the smaller jars and I'll just kind of weigh it out a little bit based upon the herb that is being packaged. But like you can see, these are the smaller ones. These are the medium-sized ones that I have for the fruit that I like from canning. And then these are the larger 32-ounce jars. So like I said, all of the jars that you get from your tomato sauces, from your paste, from your dips, anything that you have, keep them and use those for your herbs. And then I'm going to show you how I transfer them. Now, I'm using gloves in mine because, of course, these are herbs that are for the Yoni steams. This is going to be on other people's body. This is going to be going into other people's body. So it's really important that, you know, I wear gloves and I maintain that COVID-19 code and all the other kind of restrictions that are here. But even before COVID-19, I was really specific in making sure that the herbs did not get cross-contaminated with my germs or any other germs from anybody that is around. So I'm getting ready to show you guys how I package them and then how I store them. Okay, so we have the herb. In this particular one, I'm going to be showing you the red raspberry. So the red raspberry leaf we're going to take and I'm going to place into the 32-ounce jar, and then we're going to store it in the cabinet away in the dark. So let's get to it. Now, because it's red raspberry leaf, it easily clings together. Like you can kind of see that it doesn't easily fall apart. It's not like a peppermint leaf or something like that. The peppermint leaf, honestly, I would just dump into the jar. But the red raspberry leaf, I just take in bunches and then I pack it down. It's also able to be pushed and smushed really tight so that I can fit a lot into here. So that's what we're gonna do now. And I'm getting ready to make a huge mess. So I'm gonna go get a towel and I'll be right back. Okay, so let's do this. That way any herb that falls, we can just add it in to the bunch and not be wasteful. Okay, so now that I have put it all in here, and as you probably saw, I was smashing down the red raspberry into the into the jar as much as I could, because red raspberry is really easy to be compacted. I mean, even still, I probably have a little more space. I don't know if you guys can see that really well, but it's really, really, really easy to be smushed down into a small container. So you can really fit a lot of it into this 32-ounce jar. But even still, even though this is just going to be sitting in the cabinet, I'm still going to add the rose quartz and the Jasper crystal to it, because I want it to be holding the energy of the crystals when I take it and combine it into the larger jar for it to sit into the energy of the new moon. Okay, so we have this, and now we're going to head to the cabinet to store it. Okay, so we just finished packaging the herbs, and I just want to make sure that I cover a few like last minute things with you guys, so that I can make sure, you know, I'm telling you fully all of the details about storing the herbs. So you want to make sure that you are always labeling your herbs. Now, you didn't see me label it earlier, but that's because I know from sight what that herb is, just because I work with herbs so much. But if you don't know what it is, make sure you put a label on it, okay? The other thing that I want to tell you is do not mix your new batch of herbs with your old batch of herbs. What you want to do is you want to put it into a separate jar, and then you want to make sure that you use the old herb first and then like recycle that jar. So if, for example, I had this much, say this was Yoni steam, I had this much Yoni steam left, I'm going to take this Yoni steam, I'm going to use this first before I use the new batch that just came in, and then when I am done, then I'll switch out that new jar and put it into the place that was on the shelf, opposed to in the file cabinet, and then reuse this jar. But that kind of helps to make sure that your herbs are not losing its power while it's sitting in the shelf for long periods of time, and that you're making sure that you're using and circulating the old herbs to the front and then using the new herbs last. So the other thing that I want to suggest to you guys is that you go and you replenish the herbs when they are halfway through. So if you are an avid Yoni steamer, when I say avid, like 2-3 times a month you're Yoni steaming, I would not stress it as much that you put your old herb into a different jar. You could actually refill what you already have, because you're probably going to run through this 32-ounce container very quickly. But what you want to do, if you are storing them in a new/full moon energy, you want to take this old jar, you want to replenish your Yoni steam that you just bought into here, and then you want to rebask this whole entire jar in the light of the new moon or in the light of the full moon, depending on what you are trying to achieve with your Yoni steam. You want to sit it there and you want to bask it in the light of the new or full moon. That way, the whole entire herb that you have, collection of the herb, is being constantly rejuvenated with the new and the full moon. This also applies if you are focusing on recharging all of your herbs. Like if you're a person like me who takes all the herbs in system in the new or the full moon, like those herbs that are for expelling diseases, getting rid of diseases, making sure you don't have blockages in the body, herbs that I even put into the Yoni steam for that, like for women who have miscarriage and discharge and things like that are problems, I take those herbs and I bask them in the full moon. And then the herbs that are for healing properties that I'm trying to bring like love into the Yoni or peace into the Yoni or into your body, and it's just for regular general Yoni steaming purposes, I take those herbs and I post them in the new moon. But the point is that you want to be charging your herbs every time the new and the full moon comes around, if that is something that you're into. You know what I mean? That you don't just charge it one time and sit them there, because the longer they sit, the less energy is sitting there, which is why I say when you store all of your herbs in the cabinet and they're sitting in the dark cabinet while you're waiting to use them, you take them and you put the crystals inside, because that makes the energy of the crystal remain in there and be as pungent as possible. And I believe I said this already, but you just want to make sure that your jar is airtight. The reason why I love these canning jars is because it has this separate piece, and then it has this additional part, and you heard that pop. This is literally a jar that seals in the freshness of the herb, and it makes sure that it keeps the air out. So you want to use a jar that has that same kind of seal. It can happen with the jars from pasta sauces and things like that. You can do the same thing, but that's where the dark container comes in to place, that you place them in. Like even if you don't have a filing cabinet, you can use your regular kitchen cabinet, you can use a tote, you can use a box. Like it does not have to be something that's really sophisticated, but the point is that you want to keep it out of direct sunlight and not getting a whole lot of air in direct contact with the light as much as possible. This is going to help your herbs stay really fresh and really pungent. You know, their power of healing, really pungent. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm going to get to a couple of other videos real quick because I got a lot of packaging to do. I have like an order of 750 that I have to fulfill by this weekend, and it's just insane right now what's happening to the Yoni steaming business, but I have to get to that. So I'm going to jump into another video. If you found this video to be helpful, please do not forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Also, do not forget to leave any comments down below or questions that you have. I will be more than happy to answer them and to explain my process more in depth if you are looking for that kind of help. I love you guys, collective. Hope you found it helpful. Peace.